You know, the fight for marriage equality was so much more than just a series of headlines. It literally reshaped laws, it changed lives, and it even impacted our health. But how do we get our heads around the whole thing? To really do that, we've got to look at it through three very different sets of eyes.
I mean, to really understand a shift of this big, we have to go way deeper than just the legal battles. We need to see it from multiple angles, right? We have to explore not just what changed, but why it mattered on a legal, historical, and honestly, a profoundly human level. So here's how we're going to break it all down. We're going to treat this like a fascinating case study, and we're bringing in three experts. First up, the professor. They're going to tackle the why, the historical and ethical roots of it all. Then we've got the detective, who's on the case of the what, the cold, hard facts of the law and the injustices it fixed. And finally, the doctor will show us the so what, the real-world measurable impact on our health and our well-being.
All right, first up, let's put on our academic hats and check in with the professor. We're going to rewind a bit to really understand the core principles that fueled this entire movement. Okay, so before we go any further, let's just get on the same page. A simple, modern definition of marriage, right? It's a social institution built to support a partnership. That's it. When you boil it down to that core idea, you can start to see why denying it to any committed couple became such a huge, fundamental issue.
And here's the thing. This was never just about a piece of paper. Not really. At its heart, it was about human rights. It was about correcting a long, painful history of repression and finally recognizing a simple, basic freedom, the right to choose your partner and build a life with them. I mean, that's a principle that strikes at the very heart of fairness and liberty.
In this quote, wow, it just nails the ethical argument perfectly. The things that actually make a partnership work, the love, the commitment, the mutual support, those things are universal. They have absolutely nothing to do with gender. And that simple, powerful idea, that became the moral engine driving this whole movement.
Okay, so we've got the why nailed down. Now let's bring in the detective to dig into the what. We're shifting from the philosophical to the super practical, the real, on-the-ground changes in law and justice.
This slide really puts it in black and white, doesn't it? Just look at the incredible difference a legal document can make. Think about it. Before this, you could be denied the right to make life-or-death medical decisions for the person you love most. You could lose the home you built together. These weren't abstract theories. They were everyday, devastating crises. Securing these rights wasn't just symbolic. It was a life-altering shift from total vulnerability to basic security.
And this legal transformation didn't just happen overnight in one place. It was like a global chain reaction. It kicked off in the Netherlands way back in 2001, and from there, the dominoes just started to fall. Each of these milestones you see here, from Canada to the US to Australia, wasn't just a change in the law books, it was a huge reflection of a seismic shift in how people thought. So we've covered the why with the professor and the what with the detective. Now, let's bring in our final expert, the doctor, to answer the big one, so what? Because you see, these legal changes didn't just happen on paper. They had a real, measurable impact on people's actual health and well-being. And the evidence on this is surprisingly clear. It turns out that a marriage license can actually be one of the most effective public health tools we have. Legal recognition has profound, positive, and, measurable effects on both our mental and physical health. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the psychological benefits are just striking. Can you imagine the chronic stress of being treated as less than by society, day in and day out? Well, study after study shows that legal recognition helps lift that massive burden, leading to significant drops in anxiety and depression. When your relationship is finally affirmed by society, it doesn't just feel better, it becomes more stable, and it measurably improves your whole quality of life.
And the impact just keeps rippling out into public health. We're talking about simple, crucial things, like finally being able to add your partner to your health insurance, which can literally be life-saving. Knowing you can be by their side in a hospital, or that your rights as a parent are secure. These aren't small details. They are systemic improvements that build healthier families and ultimately stronger communities.
So, what happens when we bring our three experts, the professor, the detective, and the doctor, all into the same room? What does their combined wisdom tell us about the big picture? And maybe, just maybe, where we're headed next?
Well, when you put it all together, the conclusion is crystal clear. The professor showed us it was a moral imperative, the detective proved it was a legal necessity, and the doctor confirmed it was a public health victory. All three perspectives point to the exact same truth. Marriage equality isn't just a social change, it's a fundamental step in our evolution toward a more just and compassionate society.
But wait,
this story isn't over, not by a long shot. As our legal definitions of family get bigger and more inclusive, it forces us all to ask a much bigger question. What's next for human connection itself? How will our social understanding of relationships keep evolving?
And you know what? We're already seeing the ripples of this change. Ideas like chosen families, which have been a cornerstone of the LGBTQ+ community for decades, are now entering the mainstream. At the very same time, technology is introducing entirely new forms of companionship, while our culture itself is slowly moving away from rigid labels and toward more fluid, personal definitions of who we are.
And so that's the big idea we're left with, isn't it? The struggle for marriage equality wasn't just about changing a law, it was about proving that our definition of family isn't carved in stone. It can evolve. It does evolve. The real question now is, as our world keeps changing at lightning speed, how will our definitions of love, family, and connection continue to evolve right along with it?